16's live election night coverage.
Good evening, I'm Scott Shaffer.
And I'm Lisa Washington. It's 8 o'clock and the polls around the state have just closed. We will be keeping an eye on results as they come in tonight. We are joined tonight by our political analyst Corey O'Brien and Newswatch 16's Stacey Lang. Corey, welcome. Always great to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me.
It seems the time has just gone by. I was saying you were just here, 5 months ago, and here we are at the primary.
I think it was yesterday.
Seems that way. On the ballot today, of course, nominations for offices from President of the United States right down through a whole bunch of state representative seats. And I think we're going to begin with one of those seats, one of the more intriguing races that we have going on right now would be, where we go with this one, the 117th district in Luzerne County, where it's in the Republican primary. Mike Cabell running for a second term. He's a business owner from Butler Township, but he's being challenged here. The freshman being challenged by James Walsh, who is an advocate for a parents' rights organization, lives in the Sweet Valley, a section of Luzerne County, and this has proven to be a very spirited primary early on. Walsh on TV with some ads painting Cabell as less than a conservative. That apparently is the playbook to try to win this, Corey.
First-term incumbents are the most vulnerable of incumbents, right?
Right.
So the power of incumbency is strong, but it gets stronger over time. So if you're going to unseat an incumbent, you're going to do it right now, even though he has some organization, even though he has built-in support and people have come out and voted for him in the past.
Right.
If you can paint him as being less conservative in this case than yourself, who are you going to attract? Primary voters, right? The educated,
voters, yes.
Primary party loyalist.
Right.
That's what he's doing. He's running to the right because that's where the party is and that's where the primary voter is. It's a smart strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Walsh has been all over the place. He's
Yes.
done a lot of media. He's out there. His name is fairly well known. It's going to be interesting. This is going to be a toss-up. But, Walsh, if you're an outsider looking in, you like Walsh's chances.
I would love to know how much money they spent on this, because this was one of the ones that I was surprised to see that there was so much campaigning, going into the primary. And interestingly, as you said, they're playing to the party because there are no Democrats in the primary.
Important point right there, yes.
The key point, run to the right. That's it. Right, from a campaign theme standpoint, run to the right. Whoever runs to the right and does a better job of that's going to be successful tonight.
And we should note that Cabell won the race. It was an open seat 2 years ago after Karen Boback retired. So he won a contested primary and then faced little to no Democratic opposition in the general. So this is really obviously his first a true test and a one-on-one battle for this seat. So it's going to be real interesting to watch tonight. Newswatch 16 is going to be covering that race very closely. Our Melissa Steininger is going to be with the candidates in Luzerne County tonight. We're going to be talking to them, hearing from them, and getting those updates on the numbers as they roll in. We're also interested in the 120th district, also in Luzerne County, and this is an open seat as Aaron Coffer stepping down after 5 terms. My goodness, 10 years of Aaron Coffer. I'd seen that's flown by. I thought he was still the new guy.
Yeah,
It goes quickly.
Yeah.
This is Pennsylvania, after all. So 10 years of living anywhere, you're still a new guy or gal, right? So,
Yes.
When we think about this race, you got to think about this as being a toss-up seat, right? Phyllis Mundy was in this seat for several years.
A long time.
Right? A long time there. Now you have a Republican in there. It's going to be very interesting to see. I think it's going to be a little bit of maybe, and this might be a little bit of an over-exaggeration on this, but it could be a little bit of a bellwether. I'm worried about using the term bellwether for anything in politics these days because it's a little overused, the term, but this one's an interesting one. Luzerne County was a strong piece for Donald Trump in 2016.
Yeah.
Luzerne County was a key to his election and to how well he did in Pennsylvania. How well will he do this time around? Luzerne County will still be important. This being a toss-up district could give us some insight as to how Luzerne County will play out in the fall.
Come November. Are you surprised by the number of candidates 5 candidates in this race?
Yeah, yes. I'm always surprised by the numbers, right? I mean, the more candidates, the better it is for an incumbent when there is an incumbent,
right?
If you can, I always loved having a lot of people run against me. I didn't want to go head to head with anybody.
Okay.
I wanted, if you're going to be the incumbent in a race, you want a lot of people. But in a race like this, I think it's anybody's guess. I mean, I think Morgan's strong, Pew's strong. There are some other candidates here that might be strong. But it's who has the best ground game? This is a race of ground game here tonight in this district.
And name
that's
recognition, I think.
Name ID is going to matter.
Here is a piece of history in this race.
Oh, boy.
You knew it was coming.
It was coming.
Erin Coffer ran against Phyllis Mundy and lost in her last re-election bid. Then she retired. Coffer came back the next year and won the seat and held it for 5 terms. Fern Leard ran against Erin Coffer last year and lost in his last re-election bid. And now she is back again this year.
And we should mention that she was working in healthcare before. Could be onto something. We shall see. She says she got into this because she had twin sons who were born with a rare condition. When they were able to find the treatment plan, that's when she understood the power of advocacy and government. And so that's why she got into this race. So this will be one to watch. And if you've been in Luzerne County over the past week or so, you certainly would be hard to miss one of those Fern Leard signs. So this will definitely be one to watch. Of course, she is being challenged in the Democrat race by John Morgan, very well known in Exeter Borough.
Yeah, he'll have a broad base of support in Exeter.
Well, it's interesting. You said a word, and it's a key word. It's called purpose. The power of purpose matters in politics.
Right.
And with Leard having a strong, compelling purpose, you're different on the campaign trail when you have a purpose. Your heart's more into it.
Right.
You come across as being more genuine. You knock on the doors in the rain. You do things that other candidates don't do. And the character that builds, not only in you, but the relationships it builds between you and voters, matters. So the power of purpose in this race for her is not only a driving factor for her, but it will also play a role in people coming out to vote for her, because they'll see that. She'll be wearing that on her sleeve, and that's compelling.
We do have some numbers, early numbers coming in. Maybe we could run down a few of those boards. And we'll start right at the top with the Democratic primary for president, where a fellow by the name of Joe Biden is doing quite well right now. 95% of the vote with the first 90,000 votes that are in so far. He's already been projected to win. So that's probably a good sign for the president running for re-election. The numbers on the Republican side are a little less definitive for the front runner. Again, we only have about 18,000 votes cast so far, but a third of them have gone to Nikki Haley. Now, the former South Carolina governor obviously suspended her campaign right after Super Tuesday. She has not endorsed anyone that I'm aware of. So there is still, some in the Republican primary who are casting their ballots for Haley. I can only presume that is some sort of a protest vote.
I was going to say that seems quite interesting to me. She, as well as Dean Phillips on the Democrat side, like he has suspended his campaign, but yet there were, I think, about 4,000 votes for him as well.
Right. She's not in the race. Now, it's very early. Reporting, probably around 2% of the total vote, right? But if those numbers trend, I mean, forget about it for Donald Trump in the general election in Pennsylvania. Just call it for the Democrats, because if somebody who's not in the race
getting that
can get 30 or so % of the vote, it's over in the general election. I mean, I would just call that race tonight in the general election if Nikki Haley is anywhere even close. If she's above 2%, I'd be pretty shocked. By the end of the night.
Pat Buchanan in New Hampshire in 92. Read our lips. I remember the headline. All right, we need to talk about the special election going on in the Poconos tonight. That's in the 139th district, where Republican Representative Joe Adams resigned just over a year into his first term. So there is a special election to fill the rest of his term, which is just till the end of this year. There's also then the primary election to fill the entire next term, which would begin in January. Robin Skibber is the Democrat. She's unopposed on the Democratic side, recently retired as director of the Pike County Area Agency on Aging. On the Republican side, it's Jeffrey Olsemer, a Sterling Township supervisor. That's in Wayne County, and he's a well-known businessman in that part of the Poconos. Matthew Contreras is challenging, follow me here, Matthew Contreras is challenging Olsemer in the Republican primary for the full term in the 139th district. Olsemer is the sole Republican in the special election that is going on concurrently tonight. So conceivably, Olsemer could be the incumbent when he runs in the fall. He could be the incumbent and not even be on the ticket when he runs in the fall.
Right.
And so all of these scenarios are in play.
And we should mention that Joe Adams resigned just over a year into his first term, so there still will be some time if Olsemer were to run there. Our special election reporter, I believe, is Emily Kress for us tonight, and I do think that she is with Jeffrey Olsemer, at least with his campaign. So tell us what it's like where you are, Emily.
Hey, Lisa, we're at the Paul Pack watering hole in Hawley, where Jeffrey Olsemer will be here later. The party is just getting started. You know, the polls closed just a few minutes ago. Everyone has to take a beat, take it all in, see where the night's going to take them. But this is really an interesting race because the voters will choose who will represent them in the 139th district till the end of former Representative Joe Adams' term. That will fulfill it until November, and then we'll see in November in the general election who will be there in the full term for that race. And again, we do have that primary race too with the Republican Party, so we have a lot to talk about tonight, but the night is still early. Those numbers are coming in. You guys told us a lot about the candidates. Jeffrey Olsemer, he's in insurance, he's a township supervisor. His opponent, Democrat Robin Skibber, she has a lot of experience with the Pike County Area Agency on Aging, helping seniors get those services through the county. So we'll check in a little bit later to see how those numbers are looking. But for now, Emily Kress, Newswatch 16, reporting live in Wayne County.
All right, Emily, we'll be checking in with you throughout the night. Thank you so much for that report. And again, she says it is still very early, but it's good to see that we are getting some numbers in already. You were talking about the Attorney General race. I believe we have some early numbers for
on both sides. Yeah, the Democratic side is interesting. I think this might come as a surprise to a lot of people here in our corner of the Commonwealth, but former Auditor General Eugene DePasquale is off to a very large lead in the early voting on the Democratic side. We hadn't seen any advertising from Mr. DePasquale, but he certainly has the name recognition, having run 4 times, primaries and generals, statewide and winning. So the early numbers have him with about 63,000 votes to Joe Kahn, who's currently in second place, at just about half of that. So DePasquale off to an early lead on the Democratic side for Attorney General. And there you see the numbers right there. Not on TV at all, Corey O'Brien. What's that telling you?
Yeah, I mean, it tells you he's got infrastructure, right? I mean, if you run on the state level and you're successful on the state level, not only do you have that name ID, that name recognition, you have some ground game and you have infrastructure and you have that built in, and you're just plugging into that. You're plugging and playing with respect to counties. You have all the important contacts. They're helping you get this done, right? So the only rub here is fundraising. Fundraising does matter in politics. Name ID, reputation, infrastructure, that's going to offset that to some degree, but it's going to be interesting over the course of the night if he can hang on. Look, conventional wisdom says he wins this.
Right.
But a fundraising edge is a way that a spoiler can enter this picture.
Yeah, and he's going to need some money. If he does win, he's going to need some money before November.
Well, he's going to have to start working.
Yeah.
Because clearly he hasn't worked to this point. Working is being on the phone every single day raising money.
Right.
He has not done that. He'll have to do that to be successful in the
Can't rest on your laurels, and this is a crowded field. All right, now we're going to check in with Newswatch 16, Stacey Lang, and I believe you're watching some of the larger numbers we're talking about for president as well?
Yes, we're following the presidential race. I have the Attorney General's race up now, taking a look at some of those numbers. We're also following the big local race, which is the state 120th district, that crowded field of 5 candidates, keeping an eye on that. The special election, and we're also taking a look at the Republican side for the U.S. 7th District House, the Republicans vying to go against Representative Susan Wild in the fall. So we're keeping track of all of that. The numbers are coming here for the Attorney General's race. We just talked about it, how far above the competition DePasquale is. We don't have any local numbers yet in the 120th, but we'll keep an eye out for that in the 139th. We do have some numbers to talk about in the U.S. 7th District if we want to talk about this. The lead going to Ryan McKenzie, but it's a really tight field right now. Just under 200 votes separating him and Maria Montero. So we're going to keep an eye on that as well.
All right, Stacey, thank you
very
so
much.
much. And that's the one where we're saying, you said the longer you are the incumbent, the better your chances, because Susan Wild is running for her 4th term, I do believe, and she has 3 Republican, well, she's not the Republican, but 3 Republicans who want to be on the ticket.
Love that. If you're the incumbent, the more the merrier. And I think maybe we think about Dee Pasquale, not to go back, but maybe to go back for a second. I'm almost thinking about Dee Pasquale as an incumbent. Right, if you look at that AG race, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in the race.
Right.
He's got the most name ID. He's got what I would almost consider the power of incumbency in that race. Maybe not the finance edge, but everything else is in his corner. Right. So if you're Eugene Dee Pasquale and you have all this name ID, what do you want? If you're going to run against one other person, you'd rather 5, because he's going to have his core vote that he relied on in that Auditor General's race. He'll have that core vote. And if no one else can get a plurality of the rest, he wins. Right? So just something to think about. I didn't want to pull us off the 7th, but it just popped into my head, and I guess this is live television.
Okay. No, we appreciate that. That's why we love your analysis. We appreciate that.
He doesn't seem to be losing his lead. Dee Pasquale is now 44,000 votes ahead of Joe Kahn, who's in 2nd place. Solomon and Stolzheimer, who are the 2 that we saw on the air most in northeastern and central Pennsylvania, they are running 4th and 5th.
Wow.
So you don't know, Jack.
And also interesting in that, too, so there are a couple of the candidates, both from Delaware County, which we know is suburban Philadelphia, so that will be one to watch as well.
Money cuts both ways. You raise a lot of money and you're on television. What if people just don't like you?
Yeah.
Oof.
Right? You spend a lot of money on TV. Somebody looks at that ad and says, I just don't like that person. Right? That can go both ways.
The polls have been closed for a little more than 16 minutes here in Pennsylvania. We're going to take our first break of the night. Plenty more to come here on WNEP2. Stay with us. Primary election night 2024 in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
I'm Josh with NEPACashOffer.com, and I want to buy your house. I'll make you an as-is cash offer for your house within 24 hours. Whether it's a total fixer-upper or in perfect condition, NEPA Cash Offer is the easiest way to sell your house. When you sell to NEPA Cash Offer, there's no fees, no commissions, no banks, and no repairs. Just go to NEPACashOffer.com for a free, no obligation cash offer 24 hours a day. That's NEPACashOffer.com.
Sometimes it's hard to see past the looming repair and replacement costs all around your house. Finally, you can stop seeing money and start saving money with First American Home Warranty. First American covers the systems and appliances you depend on every day. Air conditioning, refrigerator, washer and dryer, electrical, plumbing, and more.
If there's one guarantee in homeownership, it's that things are going to break down.
When an appliance or system breaks down, First American sends a trusted contractor to fix it.
And if they can't fix it, they will replace it.
Members pay low monthly rates with unlimited claims and 24/7 customer service.
We've saved thousands of dollars that we've been able to reinvest into our home.
All plans include a no questions asked money back guarantee and flexible payment options so you can never pay for covered repairs again. Call 1-800-508-6823 now or go online to get your free no obligation quote. So call now.
NetCredit is here to say yes, even when other lenders won't. Apply online in minutes and get funds deposited the next business day or sooner. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
Watch your favorite segments, get recipes, share photos in our People and Places slideshow. More Pennsylvania outdoor life in more places. On the web, with our app, and streaming on WNEP+.
This is Your Voice, Your Vote Primary Election Day 2024. We're so glad to have you with us this evening, along with our political analyst, Corey O'Brien. A lot to get to tonight, but we're going to focus back in now on the 7th District for U.S. Congress, because, again, a number of people in that pretty interesting race.
It's the only congressional primary we have locally that there is a primary.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. The Republicans, there's 3 Republicans in this race, all have some significant name ID, fairly popular within their circles. You have a state representative, you have some other individuals, an attorney, and somebody who worked, I think, for Governor Rendell or Governor Ridge. I think.
Yes, Delacour.
Delacour worked for Ridge, right?
Former economic policy advisor for Governor Ridge.
So you have people who know what they're doing. At the end of the day, who's best situated in this race to take on the incumbent? Right? That's the key here. We have Susan Wild is the incumbent. I think she's been in there 4 terms.
Running for her
4th term. So it's really going to be interesting to see who matches up best with her. This is one of those races when you're in Washington, D.C. and you're a strategist and you're thinking about, okay, what are seats that we can flip? What are seats that we can have? Is this one we can flip? Think about Congress. How many seats do the Republicans need in the House? They need 9. Right? They need 9 seats. They have to flip 9. Do they look at this seat as a potential? They're going to be looking to see who's the candidate that comes out of this race on the Republican side, and should we back them? Should we go all in? Can we take a shot at Susan Wild? That's going to be the strategist's thoughts tonight and into tomorrow. Is this a pickup? Because this is a very important seat, not only for the Democrats, but more important for the Republicans. This is one that they could potentially pick off in the fall.
And I think that's what makes Pennsylvania's primary so interesting, is that this is the only primary in the country today. And then, as you said, the strategists across the country are going to be watching Pennsylvania tonight to find out who is going to be on the ticket.
Can we pick up 9 seats or get it even closer?
Delacour is in 3rd place as we speak. He's the guy who ran district-wide before, 2 years ago, lost in the primary to the candidate Scheller, who then lost to Susan Wild in the general election. So Delacour has the name recognition in the entire district. McKenzie obviously has the name recognition within his state House district. Montero is the only woman, obviously, in the race. She's also the only one of the 3 from Northampton County, which is, a good chunk of this district. I mean, Lehigh County is the most populated one, but Northampton County has a couple 100,000 people in it, and it's obviously a very important piece of the puzzle. And Maria Montero is the only candidate from Northampton County. Don't know how much that's going to play.
Right.
I just pointed out parenthetically.
We should also say that this also includes just a sliver, part of Monroe County as well. Ross Township, Polk Township, and Eldred Township, so just a little tiny bit of Monroe County
of the West End
as well in the 7th district.
As a strategist sitting in Washington, D.C., and the Republican side thinking about this race, I'm thinking, is McKenzie or Montero going to win this? Because I know where I'm getting with Delacour. He lost. Right. So we know where that's going. So am I going to get Montero? Am I going to get McKenzie? If I get Montero, that might set up a little bit better from a party standpoint.
Okay.
2 strong, accomplished women in the race together. I think there's something about that could make that a special race to be watching in the fall. McKenzie, very well known from his state rep seat. He's a proven winner. So that could potentially bring something to the table as well. So you're thinking about those 2 people in this race, from my mind.
That would be interesting.
We talked earlier about the 117th race in Luzerne County between incumbent Republican Mike Cadell trying to fend off a challenge in the GOP primary from James Walsh. Our Melissa Steininger is covering that campaign tonight, and she is with the Walsh campaign, I believe, at the Morgan Hills Golf Club in Hunlock Creek. Would that be correct, Melissa?
That is correct, Scott. And while a lot of people are looking forward to tonight's primaries for those election results to run in November, here the challenger, the winner of tonight's primary, pretty much likely to take the seat of this 117th district. That's because there's no Democrats running on the ticket. So whoever wins tonight, again, is likely to take that seat. Jamie Walsh actually just came through the door here at Morgan Hills Golf Course. We are outside. He said he's feeling good about everything today. He says he's a little worried, a little nervous going into it. This is his first time running. However, he's feeling good overall. Now, the thing about Jamie Walsh is he lives out in the Sweet Valley area with his wife and his kids, and he was raised in the area that he is now looking to represent. Walsh didn't exactly have plans to get into politics. He actually started a parental rights group that started and formed during the COVID era, trying to, embrace those parental rights against school boards. So that's kind of been his biggest platform and the thing that he has been wanting to push in this race against the incumbent challenger, Representative Mike Cabell. So again, he says he's feeling good going into tonight. He did everything that he can on the campaign trail over the past several months, and tonight kind of is that big winner. Really looking forward to November. Should be an easy way to get into that seat with no Democratic challenger. Scott?
Melissa Steinier covering the 117th district campaign for us tonight. Thanks very much. We'll be hearing from both Mr. Walsh and Representative Cabell throughout the evening. Looking forward to the real knockdown, drag-out battle there tonight.
How much does your experience, your previous experience in government count? She was saying he's a little nervous. He's never been in office before. If you like this person, does that matter?
I love it. I love how this race sets up for James Walsh. The genuine nature of those responses, I'm nervous. Who in politics ever tells you that?
Right.
Nobody. It's always about exuding confidence, right? Having all the answers, being able to be upfront. This is a candidate who's telling you, I'm nervous tonight. I've never done this before. I don't know how I'm feeling. He's being genuine and authentic. Man, oh man, that matters in politics. And you see it less and less every single year. I love how this is shaping up for him. I love this kind of election. You have this outsider. He's not involved in politics. He's just doing it for the first time, and he's telling you he's doing it for the first time. He's using what would typically be a negative as the ultimate positive. And what's he doing? Running to the right. In the Republican race, what does he need to do? Run to the right. James Walsh is set up perfectly for what I would consider a potential upset tonight. Now, in an hour, Cabell may have won by 80% of the vote, and I'll be saying Cabell's fantastic, the guy's an incumbent, and we'll be changing our tunes. But right now, I just feel like this race is setting up really, really well for James Walsh. So to answer your question, does experience matter? Sure it does. The key is, what's the experience that the voters are looking for? Sometimes that outsider experience is better than legislative experience.
And the authenticity and the being genuine also counts.
You got it.
All right, we have numbers up and down the pike here. We're starting to get our first numbers in the 139th district, just in the Republican primary, ironically, not in the special election that's going on right now, but in the Republican primary, Jeffrey Olsemer is off to an early lead, not surprisingly. Olsemer, obviously a well-known family name in that part of the Poconos.
Yes.
And the business in and of itself, the football coach at Delaware Valley. So the Olsemers are well-known through that part of the Poconos. And there you see in the Republican primary, Jeffrey Olsemer is off to a huge lead already. Only 478 votes total for him, but you don't see Matthew Contreras getting a whole lot of traction, at least early on.
This will be one to watch, as you said. Again, that goes back to the name recognition with the Olsemer name there. And of course, he is that Sterling Township supervisor. Contreras, again, to watch outside of the special election there. Melissa talked about what Walsh did. Contreras was part of the Pennsylvania Advocacy for Children's Education. So a Navy vet, he's has some experience outside of government, but some things that will matter to some people who live near him.
They will matter. They will matter. I can't help but talk about Olsemer right here because I went to school with Keith Olsemer, the coach at Penn State, who was a fantastic football player at Penn State.
Yeah, coach at Delaware Valley High School. Long-time coach.
Long-time
20
coach
years
Delaware.
now, yeah.
But let me tell you, quality individual, right? The Olsemer family, they're high quality, high caliber, thoughtful, kind people. And in local races like this, that matters. So I'd say Keith Olsemer's a big reason why, Jeffrey could have a good night tonight.
And regardless of what happens tonight, that we will have another election for this seat in the fall, and it would presumably could be a rematch between Olsemer and Skibber again in the fall, presuming Olsemer can somehow get past this primary. He's already winning very large. But we can take a look at some of the other numbers. Let's get some updates now. Pennsylvania Attorney General on the Democratic side, we've been talking about Eugene DePasquale surpassing all of our expectations tonight, and he is just really starting to run away with this right now. I have him up by more than 50,000 votes at this point over the Joe Kahn, who's in second place. Solomon and Stolzheimer bringing up the rear of this crowded primary on the Democratic side. So DePasquale is just off to the races here. He's secretariat at the Belmont. That's...
you know what? That could be splitting some of that suburban Philadelphia vote, right?
Right.
Because
the other candidates are all splitting the Philadelphia vote, and
yes.
DePasquale is getting everything else. Well, he's doing great. He's certainly has the inside track to the nomination now. Let's take a look at the Republican side. We haven't been talking about this as much because we weren't expecting this to be too much of a race. Dave Sunday is the district attorney in York County, and he's also the endorsed candidate in this race. Navy veteran as well. So the Republican Party has gotten behind Dave Sunday, and that seems to be working well. Craig Williams is a state rep from Delaware County. There it is again, the Philly suburbs. He's a former federal prosecutor, but Sunday, with the GOP endorsement, is running away with this one in the early voting here. He is up by nearly 12,000 votes, 62%. So, Sunday is probably already looking forward to November at this point. And
That's 5%. We'll see what... I mean, I'm not saying it's going to change, but we should say it's still very, very early.
As it stands right now, we will have 2 York County candidates running for state attorney general, the stepping stone to governor. We just had 2 York County candidates running for governor 5 years ago when it was Wolf versus Wagner. And now, what's going on in York County? Am I missing something here?
Well, I think historically...
And it's attorney general, and then that's typically they go on to
AG,
be
aspiring governor.
Yeah.
Yes, historically speaking, York's been a player in statewide politics. You have to think, when I think about Sunday and look at where he is, boy, the statewide operation is such a beast of an operation, right? It's got to be large. You're in over 60 counties, right? I mean, there's just a lot of infrastructure there. So an endorsement, I'm usually not a huge fan or believer in party endorsements, but boy, oh boy, on the state level, they're more meaningful because there is a party apparatus throughout the entire state. And if you can, just to get yourself going in some of these counties, have a little bit of that support, it's a big deal.
And I mean, like you said, something must be happening there in York because these are the 2. Once again, here we are. But we will, of course, continue to follow those numbers as well. And again, we have crews spread out across northeastern and central Pennsylvania who you will be hearing from during this election special. We have our Jack Kochen and Nikki Kreis covering that 120th there in parts of Luzerne County, the big one there with State Representative Aaron Coffer, who is not seeking another term, retiring after 5 terms serving in Harrisburg. That's the one with the 2 Democrats and 3 Republicans. Emily, as we saw, is over covering the 139th. We also have our Chelsea Strube, who is working with us tonight. Chelsea is covering the, I'm looking for my notes as I pull this up, the 109th, which covers Columbia County. We have the Democrat who is unopposed. We have 2 Republicans running there. But right now, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back very quickly. Stay with us.
Looking pretty good, Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
The front desk said you recently enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan with extra benefits. Well, Medicare Parts A and B do not cover your routine dental coverage. Yes, you have a Medicare Part C plan, commonly called Medicare Advantage. Medicare Part C plans cover everything in Part A and Part B, plus extra benefits like dental, vision, or hearing.
Wow. That's great that my plan includes dental coverage that helps pay for these costs.
Yes, Mr. Johnson. A Medicare Part C plan could include dental coverage.
If you're losing coverage, moving, or new to Medicare, call now because there may be plans available with additional benefits that are simply not covered under Medicare Parts A and B, like routine dental coverage. In fact, over half of Medicare beneficiaries do not have any dental coverage. Here's the good news. 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available. If you're on Medicare, you can call now even if you called last year and talk to a licensed insurance agent to learn more about Medicare Advantage plans from Humana, United Healthcare, Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna Healthcare, WellCare, or Kaiser Permanente. Call now because there may be plans available with additional benefits that are simply not covered under Medicare Parts A and B, like routine dental coverage. We will check to see if there is a Part C plan available in your area with additional benefits. Remember, you don't get a Medicare Part C plan with extra benefits automatically, so call now before the deadline for your free, no-obligation 2024 Medicare Benefits Review. If you're losing coverage, moving, or new to Medicare, just call 800 800-453-0516. 800-453-0516. 800-453-0516.
Welcome back to Your Voice, Your Vote here on WNEP2. Before we head to Scott, Lisa, and Corey, we have our first local numbers coming in and wanted to give you a quick look at the special election in the state 139th district. As we've been talking about all night, there are two things going on here. There's a special election to fill the vacancy that exists right now, as well as a Republican primary that sets us up for the race in November. What we're following here on the big board is that special election. And right now, the incumbent, she's the incumbent, correct, Scott? Yes, who filled in after Representative Adams.
The seat's open.
The seat's open?
Yeah, there is no incumbent right now. No, yes, this is an open seat,
mistake.
and then this is for the remaining couple of months of the term.
Right.
And then there's a chance that these two could then
face each other again in November.
Regardless of what happens in this race tonight, there could be a rematch in November of these same candidates.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Robin Skibber's come out to a strong lead with 62% of the vote. Only about 13% of the vote coming in right now, so there's only 300 votes separating them. This could still go either way.
Yeah, it would send shockwaves down to Harrisburg if that were to hold up, because obviously there's a very slim Democratic majority in the state house in Harrisburg as we speak, and I don't think the Republicans were counting on losing a seat in the Poconos. So again, those are early numbers, and we'll see.
We'll see. I'll keep an eye on it.
We are getting a number of local numbers. Our first look in the 117th district, maybe we can get that up, which shows the incumbent, Cabell, with the early lead, but only by about 100 and some odd votes over Jamie Walsh. In the 117th, we've been talking about this. Our Melissa Steininger has been covering the campaign, but the early numbers show Cabell with 690 votes to 576. There you see it right there.
So it's getting closer, yeah.
Yeah, it is very close. Cabell with the early lead. We're going to be watching this one throughout the night. On the Democratic side in the 120th, it is Leard with the early lead over Morgan by a couple hundred votes there. We're talking still, those are the
Fern Leard and John Morgan.
Fern Leard and John Morgan. Democratic side in the 120th, Leard, who, as we mentioned, had run 2 years ago as the Democratic nominee and lost to the incumbent. Well, the incumbent has retired. So now Leard is back. She has the early lead on Morgan, the Exeter Borough Councilman, in this race for the 120th nomination on the Democratic side. There you see Fern Leard. On the Republican side, our first look at the numbers show Brenda Pew with a very large lead of a couple hundred votes right now. On the Republican side, in the same district, the 120th, Pew is well known as the chairwoman of the Luzerne County Fair. So Brenda Pew with the early lead there in the 120th. So we're getting at least a bit of a feel for how these are shaping up. Some of these races might not be close tonight at all, and a couple of the other ones certainly look like they will be close. But you're getting your first numbers here on WNEP2 as you do every election night, and we're glad to have you. There you see the GOP numbers. Side, Brenda Pew with the lead by 437 votes over Leanne McDermott. McDermott is a Luzerne County Council member and runs a real estate appraisal business. Our Jack Culkin is with the Pew campaign at Valenti's in the borough of Exeter tonight. Jack.
Scott, Lisa, Corey, and Stacy, the polls have been closed for a little more than a half an hour now. And as you said, the numbers are starting to come in, and the supporters of Brenda Pew are gathering here at Valenti. She is one of the three candidates looking to secure the Republican nomination to keep the 120th House seat red here in Luzerne County. Pew is going up against two other Republican candidates in Pat Musto, a business owner and a former school board member who served 3 terms at the Dallas School District. Leanne McDermott is also a business owner and was just recently elected to her 2nd term on Luzerne County Council. Again, each candidate is looking to be the Republican nominee for the 120th State House District seat, which has been held by longtime Republican Aaron Coffer. Shaffer, who announced he will be retiring at the end of this term. Now, as we mentioned before, some numbers are starting to come in, and Pew does seem to have a bit of a lead, but I talked to her not too long ago, and she's not too confident right now. There's still a lot of time to go throughout the evening, and mail-in ballots still need to be counted. Numbers are still rolling in, but we'll keep you updated as those numbers continue to come in. But for now, Jack Culkin, Newswatch 16, live here in Luzerne County.
All right, Jack, thank you so much for that. Again, still very early, but you can hear like the little buzz in the air. So there's a lot of optimism. People are looking forward to this. What do you think about this? You got the name recognition with Pew, the Luzerne County Fair, which is huge. And then you have the two others who are also known well in the community.
Yeah, you know, when you're known well in the community for politics, though, it's a double-edged sword, right? So if you're in a school board, you don't see a lot of school board members. They are battling day to day.
Right.
You don't see a lot of school board members elevate up through politics. When you're the head of the county fair, that's kind of a fun thing people like. You know, there aren't a lot of negative things that you're talking about the fair. Hey, what are we doing this year? We're going to have fun.
Right.
We're going to have a great time. We're going to have a great fair. You know, it's just such a positive community type of event that it's something everybody can come around. When you're a school board member, half the people, or maybe a little less or a little more, don't like you.
Right. And then we have McDermott, who's second term for the Luzerne County Council, which is the large county council. Like, do you know all the people on the Luzerne County Council? Because it's so big.
I don't, and I cover politics, yes.
Because it's large and there's zero accountability, I feel like we end up talking about the Luzerne County Council every election cycle, no matter what happens.
And that's nothing against her. It's just that, you know, how do you stand out on that?
And nobody finds, you know, if you were to poll the favorability of the Luzerne County Council, it's going to be in the single digits.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's just there's zero accountability in the county, right?
Right.
So,
And Musto, the member of the Dallas School Board, is the third candidate in the primary. Great historical political name, not as a Republican, however.
That's now you're running as a Republican.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Musto name is so well known as in the Democratic circles in Pittston for so many years, and I don't know if there's any relation with this Musto and those Mustos, but the party affiliation is not the same.
That's correct, and that does matter certainly in the primary.
I wonder if Republican voters think of that. They see the name Musto and think, well, that's the Democrats. That's the old state senator.
Yeah. I'm sure they do.
Right.
So.
Something else we haven't talked about. Pennsylvania has a closed primary, so you can only vote in the primary if you are a Republican or if you are a Democrat. So independent, Green Party, Libertarian, whatever, not allowed to vote in this primary.
Sore subject for this independent.
Just putting that out there.
Right, but think about it, because it really is a primary is a nomination for two political parties.
Yes.
Right, and that's where you get that well-educated voter, that hardcore loyal party voter who comes out to nominate their party's nominee for the general election. So it's really not, the primary really isn't an election. An election is really the general election.
Primary, right.
This is really a primary nomination.
Yes.
This is to see who will
represent the party
represent
and
these
the election.
parties.
Yes.
Right? So independents to some degree have it a little bit easier. They don't have to go through a party primary. If you have a strong independent, they get right to the general election.
They have to get an inordinate amount of signatures to qualify for the ballot as an independent, much more than either of the parties. They do, I mean, the election process does make the independents jump through hoops to be able to get their name on the ballot. It's possible, but it's not an easy process.
Well, you have a lot of hoops to jump through for the general election.
Well, I think we're...
Stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned.
Yes.
It's live television, Scott. Sorry.
Oh, boy.
I had an old friend who ran for politics a couple years ago. It didn't work out really well for him.
Okay, so moving on. Do we have any numbers for U.S. Senate? I know, again, live television while we are... moving around here, of course, we've talked about Senator Bob Casey, of course, is the Democratic incumbent who is running for his fourth term, facing a name that we've heard before and you've seen on TV plenty of times, Dave McCormick, also unopposed in the Republican primary. If his name sounds familiar, that's because he lost to Dr. Mehmet Oz in the previous primary. So this will also be one to watch. Of course, Casey, very well known in the Scranton community.
Well, you know what? He must be pretty well known statewide and maybe nationally. And the only reason I say it is because he's the longest serving Democrat in Pennsylvania history in the United States Senate. It's really crazy when you think about it, right? I mean, I know Bob Casey fairly well. He's as genuine and as kind a person as you're going to come across. And what is the formula? What is the secret to success? I mean, this is an individual who should write a book on that.
He's been there for a long time,
He has done an amazing job in just staying out of a lot of the controversial issues. He's loved in this Commonwealth. It just is a matter of fact. I think he will glide to victory in the fall. But, you know, he has never changed who he was the first day he ran for office. And people see that genuine nature of him and just really like it.
Well, he have to raise money and find more support. I mean, because, you know, McCormick is that campaign is going to spend some money as they did in the previous one. I did see a few of the Casey ads leading up to this. Do you think he will have to get more money to put out there in ads going to November?
Well, he should talk to Dee Pasquale. Because he's raising no money this cycle and he's living it, right? Right, so use that name and that infrastructure. I think, look, the Democrats will be strongly behind Bob Casey. They'll be working hard to get him reelected. He would be in one of those seats that they would think is a potential toss-up because Pennsylvania is a potential toss-up. Do I really think Bob Casey's at risk in the general election? I don't think there's any chance of that. I don't care how much the Republican raises. His name ID and what he has done and what he's stayed out of in Pennsylvania politics, I think have put him on another playing level. We'll see. I could be eating those words by 10 o'clock on general election night. But at this time, it's hard to think somebody can really put a significant challenge against Bob Casey. He is middle of the road when he is needed to be, and he is not upset or polarized voters against him.
Yeah, McCormick will be a tougher challenge than, say, a Tom Smith or one of Casey's other previous foes. But let's talk about the local race in the 120th in Luzerne County, the open seat. Darren Coffer stepping down. Our Nikki Kreis is with the Democrats tonight, and she is joined by John Morgan, the Exeter councilman. They're at Sabatini's Bottle Shop in Exeter, and it looks like a nice night down there along Wyoming Avenue. Nikki.
Not joined by him yet, Scott. We just got here, but like you said, we are at Sabatini's in Exeter. Like you said, 2 Democrats are running in tonight's primary, hoping to take back the seat from the GOP. Democrat Fern Leard from the Back Mountain lost to Representative Aaron Coffer 2 years ago. Now she's back hoping to make it to the general election for a second time. Leard has worked in advocacy for the past decade on Capitol Hill, working to get a health care bill passed. John Morgan is also vying for the Democratic spot on the November ballot in the place his family has called home for generations. Morgan is the vice chairman of Exeter Borough Council and the EMA director for the borough. And of course, we will have much more coming up on the race for the 120th district in just a bit here in Luzerne County.
Nikki, thank you so much for that report. And yes, we will be checking in with you throughout the evening.
And Leard with the lead, with the early lead with about 700 votes over Morgan on the Democratic side.
Right.
Well, let me talk about a congressional race real now, and I'm jumping in here out of school, but Scott Perry, the incumbent Republican in the 10th District of Pennsylvania, covers Harrisburg, northern part of York County. He's been a bit of a lightning rod of a figure, and there is certainly a concerted effort to try to defeat him in the fall. That district, the Democrats think they have a shot at knocking him off. There was a 6-way primary election for that seat to run against Scott Perry tonight, and it appears that a winner has already been called. It's Janelle Stelson, the former television news anchor, longtime TV news anchor, who worked at all 3 stations
in the
Harrisburg market. All the 3 of, I guess, Fox is now on the air, so 3 of the 4 stations in the Harrisburg market. She has retired from television, and now she will be the Democratic nominee to run against Scott Perry in the fall. That's going to be a heck of a race.
That is really going to be a race.
I mean,
you
talk
got
about name recognition right
She's
there.
a news
My goodness.
anchor for a long time in that market.
Decades, 30-some years.
But people who are loyal to Scott Perry are very loyal to Scott Perry. So.
And she does not, at last check, and she may have moved, but she did not live specifically in that district when she announced. You don't have to. That's not a requirement in Pennsylvania to live in the district which you represent, but it certainly helps.
Well, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not diminish that.
Right.
If you don't live in the district, you don't do historically that well. I remember Hillary Clinton did really well in New York. She didn't really live there. But, you know, I'm not so sure in this race that's going to be helpful to her. But Scott Perry's got a lot of negativity.
I thought she was planning on moving was the last I heard.
There's a lot of negative around him.
Yeah.
And when you have a news anchor, you have somebody who's in your living room every night, trusted, down the middle, bipartisan, you know, that matters, right? That trust that people have.
They feel a connection to you.
They do, right? So that matters. So I think Scott Perry's going to have his vote, and he'll have his core vote, just like you indicated. He will have that. Is that enough?
Right.
I would think that core vote's 30%. Maybe.
How much of these, all of these races, that congressional race, the Bob Casey McCormick race, how much of these going to be influenced by the top of the ticket in November, Trump versus Biden?
They're going to be dramatically. The coattails there are going to matter. The question is whether there are coattails. Coattails typically occur when you have, you know, a real reason why you're coming out and voting for a candidate, not voting against. This is one of those cycles where almost people are coming out to vote against.
It does seem that way.
They're not voting for. Nobody's very excited about Joe Biden. I mean, I'm just sorry. Nobody's real excited about him. Nobody's real excited about Donald Trump. So now it's just about, well, who don't I like? And I want to go out and vote against them. When you do that, coattails have less of an impact. When you have hope, Barack Obama is a good example, Bill Clinton's a good example. When you have those type of figures where there's an inspirational message and people are being driven really to go out and vote for them and they're compelled to vote for them, that's when those coattails typically have some weight and work. In a negative type of campaign environment, do they have that same effect? I don't think so.
You know what I think? I think this is going to be an issues election. Can we talk about abortion? Can we talk about the Israel-Hamas war? I think this is going to be issue-driven. There are people who will go vote specifically because of their feelings about these issues.
You better believe it. Why do people vote? You either like a candidate, you don't like a candidate, or you're purpose-driven. What is that issue? Is it abortion? Is it the Hamas-Israeli conflict? Is it guns?
Right.
Is it gas prices? Is it food prices? You know, what's driving you?
Yes.
Right? It's not always, well, I just really don't like Donald Trump or I just really don't like Joe Biden. It may be, you know what? I'm now paying $3.70 for a gallon of gas and I was paying $1.25 4 years ago. Right? I mean, those kind of things matter. I mean, there's a great strategist, James Carville. Right?
Yes.
It's the economy.
Stupid.
I wasn't going to use the word because I don't say that word in my house.
I think we're safe.
Even my kids are older. We still don't use that word in my house. But it is the economy, right? So are these kitchen table issues gonna matter? That's in my mind. It has always been about that. And are they gonna matter?
I think they are.
12% of the Republican primary vote for president is in Pennsylvania. Haley is still at 32%. We are going to take a break here just about 8 minutes before the top of the hour. Here on WNEP2, we have 60 some odd more minutes to go. All of your first results are here on the Deuce. We're going to start to crown some winners in the next hour, and you'll see it all on Your Voice, Your Vote. Don't go away.
PPL Electric Utilities wants you to know the signs of a scam. Always verify the identity of who you're dealing with and make sure any information matches your latest bill. Slow down and take your time. As part of intimidation tactics, scammers may press you to act quickly. Stop. PPL Electric never demands immediate payment and doesn't accept these payment methods. WNEP's Power to Save is sponsored by PPL Electric Utilities.
These are just a few of the over 500,000 happy Audient hearing aid customers. They now live a better life because they hear better. And they hear better because they purchased a full pair of Audient Atom 2s for only $189. The Atom 2 is a tiny, nearly invisible over-the-counter hearing aid. They've got unsurpassed sound quality and only $189 a pair. And so easy to order. Call Audient.
1-800-207-9882.
NetCredit is here to say yes to a personal loan or line of credit, even when other lenders won't. Apply online in minutes and get funds deposited the next business day or sooner. Go to netcredit.com. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
Hi, this is Frank.
And I'm Alexia. We are your local husband and wife team, and we buy houses.
We are the call to make for an as-is, fair cash offer.
We buy homes all over in any price range. Vacant, bad renter, nice homes you can't keep up with, even condos, apartments, and multifamily units.
Don't make any repairs or even clean up, and best of all, no closing costs.
We're helping people sell their house as is. Call today for a fast, fair cash offer.
Call 570-805-0000.
Your Vote 2024. We've been talking about the big races, the small races, all the races in the Pennsylvania primary, especially those here in northeastern and central Pennsylvania today. Before we went to break, we were talking about the idea of coattails, something that we haven't mentioned. We talked about the 7th district. We haven't talked about the 8th and the 9th where they aren't being contested in the primary. Do coattails extend when you're talking about Congressman Matt Cartwright running for a 7th term, when you talk about Dan Muser running for his 4th term?
Yeah, when you have somebody who's entrenched like those two members of Congress are, I'm not sure coattails are going to matter that much, but I'll tell you this, that a Matt Cartwright has to be very careful. He has to be very careful. You know, he is in the middle of the road these days, and he really needs to be there. He understands, and I know he understands this, that Donald Trump has a significant hold on his district. There are people in this district who are very pro Donald Trump, and he has walked that fine line, to his credit, to ensure that he's on the right side of the voters with respect to some of these issues. If you dislike Donald Trump, and certainly a lot of people in northeastern Pennsylvania do, a lot of people like him too. The one thing that he has done for the Democrats, he has forced them to come to the middle. Pennsylvania, and northeastern Pennsylvania especially, has been known to be the middle of the road in politics within the United States of America. That has been our place. Our place has been Reagan Democrats.
Pacey Democrats.
Purple Pennsylvania.
Pacey Democrats. Purple Pennsylvania. That's what we've been known for. If Donald Trump has done one thing, he has brought Democrats more to the middle, because there is a core, and don't misunderstand it. There's a core Donald Trump vote in northeastern Pennsylvania and throughout Pennsylvania, and they are strong Donald Trump. Not for nefarious, not for negative reasons, just because they believe in the Republican ideologies that he's talking about, right? So Matt Cartwright has really been able to kind of weave that. He's been able to walk that tightrope to make sure that he's in the right position. I have to give Matt Cartwright a lot of credit. I think he's going to do very well in the fall. And it's because of being able to do that, being able to master his district and understanding where they are at all times. Members of Congress who can do that, they're reelected.
What do we know about Bresnahan, the first-time candidate, the Republican who will be challenging Cartwright? What do you know about him?
We know he's the CEO of Kaharchik Construction,
Yeah, he's
but no political experience.
Successful businessman, and I think he's been tabbed partially, at least, because he can self-fund his own campaign for the most part. They're big on that, the Republicans in this district. They tried that with John Schrin a couple of cycles ago. It didn't work out too well for them with that fella. He didn't live here, though. Bresnahan does. That's a big difference.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Northeastern Pennsylvania, Lackawanna County, the counties that are this district, these are counties that they expect you to be there. They expect you to be around. They expect you to be a member of their community. They just have higher expectations, and they're not hoodwinked by a lot of money. Matt Cartwright has developed great relationships with Democrats and Republicans alike. That's how he's been able to walk that tightrope. I think that it's going to be a very difficult job and challenge for a Republican to come here and unseat. Republicans oftentimes come into this district and others with money, thinking that that's going to do it. And it just doesn't work. Money alone doesn't work.
This isn't one of those seats that the strategists are saying we can try to flip.
Oh, they definitely are trying to flip. They think this is. They think it's flippable. Cartwright has. He's defied. You know, almost the conventional thinking the last couple of elections against Bognett, where Trump has won his district, but Cartwright has held on and still won re-election.
Yeah.
Remember where Matt Cartwright comes from?
Music.
A very successful trial lawyer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, music, but a very successful trial lawyer. He's very good in front of people, but he's even better one-on-one. those relationships that he has been building are strong. And he has been able to defy the norms of politics with respect to Coattails, as a great example, in these races. If there's one seat the Republicans thought they could easily flip, it was his a few cycles ago.
Right.
When Donald Trump was at his best.
Yes.
Right? Now, to think you're going to do that now when Donald Trump certainly is not at his best, I'm not necessarily thinking that Joe Biden's at his best either right now, but you know, the Republicans are not. If Nikki Haley holds on to 30% of the vote in Pennsylvania tonight in a primary that she's not running in, that's going to spell disaster for Republicans in the fall. They're going to have to figure out if there's even a chance, or you're just giving Pennsylvania up.
Well, look at this.
It's extending a little bit now.
14% reporting.
14% reporting. She's at just under 30%.
But these numbers aren't moving a lot. Now, I mean, this is only 14%, but it went from 34 to 29. I mean, if she's over 20% of the vote in the Republican Party in the primary, you have a significant problem. If you can't convince your own primary voters to support your presidential candidate against somebody who's not, she's on the ballot, but she's not even in the race.
And
she's
people
not even
know
running.
this didn't just happen.
Right. This just happened. She's been out forever. Right. So she's been out forever. People know that. This is just Republicans still unhappy with that. If you can't get your own team on board, if you think you're going to get Republicans, Democrats and independents on board in the fall, that's going to be a very heavy lift. I wouldn't be surprised. We'll look at these numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Republicans don't run away from Pennsylvania after tonight. If Nikki Haley's at 30% after tonight, you're going to see Democratic strategists and Republican strategists, and the Republicans are going to be saying, where are we going to put our money and invest it in the general election? They're going to say, Pennsylvania? We don't think so.
I don't think they can run away from Pennsylvania. I don't think they can. I don't think they have a path.
Without Pennsylvania?
I guess they have a path to victory without Pennsylvania, but it's wow. I mean, it is to the eye of a needle at that point.
You throw on top of it Joe Biden's maybe home state. I'm not so sure about that, but he claims around election time that this is the home state. As soon as he wins, then he only talks about Delaware. I don't know if you noticed, after he won the presidential, he came out and talked all about Delaware as being his home.
Sure.
Right? But throughout the election, it's Scranton. He'll spend as much time up here as possible. But once he's back in, he doesn't talk about Scranton at all. You know, so I'm not sure that that's necessarily a great thing for all of us here. But, you know, you have him from Pennsylvania. If Nikki Haley is doing great in this state, I mean, what are you thinking in terms of, we have a limited number of dollars in political parties, right? So, and you have to make that calculation as to where you're going to invest your money. If Pennsylvania is showing like it is currently, I think the Republicans have to run from it and find a different path. The Republicans are already going to have a hard enough time with the votes, right? Democrats and Republicans are about the same. They're about 30 to 34% of the total vote. The rest are independents. Donald Trump has not done very well with independent voters. He just hasn't. They haven't come to him. They have been historically on the Democratic side with respect to these presidential elections. So in this type of context, if you're seeing even within your own party this kind of backlash, that's tough. That's tough. When you're making the decision on where to invest money, you have to think about whether Pennsylvania is worth it. We'll see at the end of the night. We'll have a better idea. Right. Certainly Donald Trump has a ton of support. He has, quite frankly, a lot of support in northeastern Pennsylvania. Like a lot of support in northeastern Pennsylvania. Yes. Right? But does he have enough? I'm not sure. We're going to know. We're going to know. If Nikki Haley's in this race at the end of the night, I mean, they're going to have to reevaluate their path to victory in the fall.
Let's look at some of the Democratic numbers. Let's go to Stacey now.
While we're on the topic, though, since I'm interested in what you're speaking about, Corey, if these margins hold true at the end of the night, and you have nearly 30% of people in a closed primary, I would presume, not wanting to vote for Trump, so they vote for the other candidate on the ballot, even though her campaign is suspended, who are they voting for in November? Are they Biden voters?
Well, that's an interesting question. Are they Biden voters, or are they sitting out of the race?
That's the key.
Right. Which, that's the question. I'm not sure that a primary Republican voter is ever going to pull a lever for Joe Biden. But you know what they may do is stay home. If they stay home, that spells trouble for Republicans because there's fewer votes that they can rely on.
Right.
So it becomes untenable. It becomes a real challenge. The Republicans will have to figure out a way over the summer to bring their vote back They're going to have to, because you can't do this.
And we saw this to a degree in 2020 with the Republicans, in that both DeFore and Garrity won statewide row offices, really kind of out of nowhere. Garrity beating an incumbent Democrat, but they overperformed the top of the ticket, where Trump did not win, obviously, in Pennsylvania. So to what Corey's saying, that to a degree, that could be, again, what Pennsylvania Republicans are telling us tonight, at least early on.
Now, and think about this. If you're a Republican strategist, what are you going to do if you want to win Pennsylvania? You need to immediately retool, right? Try to retool some message. Donald Trump is who he is. But how can you bolster up? Where can you find a way of commonality? And Donald Trump will have to do it himself personally in Pennsylvania, find a way to bring that 30% back on board. Because if he can't do that, how do you even think about going after independence?
I think that's going to be really tough, because he's not going to change who he is.
But you have to somehow shore up that vote, right? And he's going to have to be flexible and do some things in Pennsylvania to shore up the Republican vote to begin with. Before he can even start going after independence, he's going to have to try to bring the 30% back to the party.
Right.
If he can't, I mean, it's just not even close in Pennsylvania if he can't. I mean, it ends up being a blowout.
Well, I mean, the last Franklin and Marshall poll had Joe Biden up 10 points in Pennsylvania. I don't know if that's an outlier or a trend, but that is the last poll from Franklin and Marshall, and that's a pretty respected polling outfit.
What are those numbers looking like right now, Stacey, with Biden? Can you pull that up?
Biden's far and away.
Yeah, Biden's at 90-some percent, way over 95.
Phillips there,
95 to 5, yeah.
Okay.
With almost 40% of the vote.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know on the Democratic side if you're really going to see anything. Democrats are going to be with their president. But, when you have a situation on this Republican side, it's just, if I were a Republican strategist, how am I going to dig out of that? You're trying to find a path to victory in Pennsylvania. It's a difficult path. It was a difficult path to begin with, because Joe Biden, many people do think he's from Pennsylvania. He was born here, and he was there until he was 10.
Right.
So, I mean,
and reminded us all of that last week.
Yeah, he spends considerable time. So, I mean, there is value in that. We did name a road after him. I'm not sure what he's done for us, but we did name a road after him. If he could start delivering maybe some results for Northeastern Pennsylvania, it could help him. Like maybe the rail. Which
he came
I know,
here and spent the night last week.
Look at Matt Cartwright's been working on the rail to try to get high-speed rail in Northeastern Pennsylvania since he swore himself, he was sworn into office, right? Well, guess what? There's only one person in the country who can make that happen, and that's the President of the United States. So either do it or don't.
He's the Amtrak president.
Pennsylvania, that's exactly right. He took the Amtrak every single day, when he was in the Senate, right, back and forth. So if anybody can bring high-speed rail to Northeastern Pennsylvania, it's Joe Biden and him alone. Matt Cartwright's done a great job carrying the water. You need the President of the United States to say what Bob Casey did. Does anybody remember in his first cabinet meeting what he said? In his first cabinet meeting, Bob Casey said, "We're building a highway to Carbondale. That's what we're doing. Make sure it happens before I leave office." He left office. It wasn't done, but the money was allocated, and Ed Rendell just left it. He just left it alone and let it happen. So it happened. Joe Biden's got to say the same thing. I'm not leaving office, or even if I do, I'm going to put the money so high-speed rail comes to Northeastern Pennsylvania. That's what he has to do. Add it, put it to the list, right? I mean, he needs to do some things. He's from here. Yes, he was born here. He was here until age 10. Get some things done here. Joe McDade always got things done here. Bob Casey always got things done here. If you want to be our president, we're naming roads after you. Why don't we, maybe we did that a little prematurely. Let's get some things home here and then start naming things after them. But start there. Start there.
We've been watching this special election in the 139th district all night, and the early results are, to say the least, a bit surprising. Newswatch 16's Emily Kress is with the Olsemer campaign at Paul Pack Watering Hole in Hawley, which sounds like just a fun place to be. Emily.
Hey, Scott. Yeah, supporters for Jeff Olsemer are starting to trickle in. Now that the polls are closed, now it's just a waiting game to see those numbers come in throughout the night. I actually spoke to Jeff just a few minutes ago. He said it was a great day out on the campaign trail talking to voters. He spent a lot of the day at the Dingman 2 voting location, where people were just excited to get out and cast their vote and do their civic duty. Now, the 139th district covers southern Wayne and northern Pike counties, and this is to fill the vacant seat of the 139th district, where former Representative Joe Adams left his seat back in early February. So that seat has been empty for the last 2 months. So now this election will determine who will fill that. So we have Republican Jeff Olsemer and Democrat Robin Skibber vying for that seat. Again, the numbers are still coming in. Right now we're seeing a lot of those mail-in ballots coming in. Not really any of the precincts reporting just yet. Those are sure to come in a little bit later. But yeah, hopefully a little bit later we can chat with Jeff live and see where the night takes us. For now, reporting live in Hawley, Emily Kress, Newswatch 16.
Emily, thank you so much for that report. And again, this is still very early, and we know that typically with the mail-in ballots, it tend to be more of the Democrats is what we tend to see than Republicans who do mail-in voting.
Yeah, that's what we've seen historically in Pennsylvania. Right. I mean, the Democrats have won that mail-in ballot race, each time out, it appears. This is really interesting.
Let's take a look. These numbers have updated, and we're up to 35% now in the special election in the 139th. Can we take a look at where we stand right now? Because this is starting to be something that bears watching, to say the least. Holy cow. I mean, we're at 30% now. I have 35 here on my computer.
Okay.
And Skibber is up by, more than 1,000 votes, about 1,300 roughly. A little less than 1,300 votes by my count right now. And I mean, did anyone see this coming? This is a quote-unquote safe Republican seat. It has been for years, or as long as I can remember.
But is this just the beginning of the mail-in voting, do we think?
You think these are just the mail-in votes?
I mean, I feel like that's still pretty. I mean, those typically come in first, so I would think that would be maybe perhaps why she has a strong lead.
That would explain.
That's, I mean, just my hypothesis.
That's the only thing that would explain it right now. There's always been this thought that Pike County is not as red as maybe we make it out to be.
Because of the proximity to New York City?
Right, with a lot of New York City voters coming. I don't know how much those New York City voters care about Pennsylvania politics, A.
Right.
But, we have not seen that bear any fruit, if that is true, that there is this pocket of Democrats in Pike County that can make some things change in the Poconos.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they are. Because I just don't see that. I see that as
Milford, Matamoros is. I can only presume those communities.
Yeah, I see that as a Republican community. I think that's a community that would be strong Republican. It's very interesting the mail-in ballot idea here, because 70-30 is about where the mail-in ballots have historically been.
That's the only thing that makes sense, Lisa.
Yes.
I think Lisa has the key to this, because nothing else makes sense at this point. Unless we are just way off the base on this, which has happened before.
And you said you were at 35%. These numbers are still catching up at about 30%.
Right, and and at 35, it's still a pretty big lead for Robin Skibber, the Democrat.
Okay.
We're going to take a break at 10 minutes past 9 o'clock right now. There you see the two candidates in the special election. We will be back here shortly on WNEP2, and again, we expect to know who some of these winners are definitively in the next 45 minutes or so. So you don't want to go anywhere. Stay with us here on The Deuce.
Sometimes it's hard to see past the looming repair and replacement costs all around your house. Finally, you can stop seeing money and start saving money with First American Home Warranty. First American covers the systems and appliances you depend on every day. Air conditioning, refrigerator, washer and dryer, electrical, plumbing, and more.
If there's one guarantee in home ownership, it's that things are going to break down.
When an appliance or system breaks down, First American sends a trusted contractor to fix it.
And if they can't fix it, they will replace it.
Members pay low monthly rates with unlimited claims and 24/7 customer service.
We've saved thousands of dollars that we've been able to reinvest into our home.
All plans include a no questions asked money back guarantee and flexible payment options so you can never pay for covered repairs again. Call 1-800-508-6823 now or go online to get your free no obligation quote. So call now.
Do you listen to the TV on high volume or have trouble hearing conversations? Then you would benefit from hearing aids. Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get Nano's revolutionary technology for just $297. Don't be fooled by higher-priced hearing aids. The CIC Recharge is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology many customers say is superior to more expensive models. Call now and get not one, but two Nano hearing aids for just $297. $297. Plus, we'll add a portable charging case and ship your order absolutely free. The CIC Recharge has a tiny in-the-ear canal design that is nearly invisible. Why keep missing out on important conversations or waste thousands of dollars? Call and get 2 CIC Recharge hearing aids for only $297 and free shipping.
Call 1-800-428-1044. That's 1-800-428-1044.
Welcome back to Your Voice, Your Vote here on WNEP2. We are at just about 13 minutes past 9 o'clock. We're going to stay with you here on The Deuce right up until Newswatch 16 at 10 here on The Deuce, and then our coverage will continue for the next half hour on Newswatch 16 at 10. We'll have election coverage as well as the news of the day, bit of weather, bit of sports, bit of it all. But stay with us now for exclusive WNEP election night coverage here with Stacey Lang, Lisa Washington, Corey O'Brien, and me. We haven't talked much about the other statewide races tonight besides Attorney General. There are also primaries on the Democratic side for both Auditor General and Treasurer. Those nominees looking to take on incumbents then in the fall. Timothy DeFore is the unopposed Republican incumbent for Auditor General, and Stacey Garrity is the unopposed Republican incumbent for State Treasurer. Why don't we take a look first at Auditor General? This is not much of a surprise. We're seeing State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta from Philadelphia. It was expected to win the nomination here to go up against DeFore, and it looks like he will. Kenyatta is...
he's a state rep from Philadelphia.
He's a state rep, and he's up significantly over Mark Pinsley, the Lehigh County Controller. There you see the numbers right now, 100 and some odd thousand vote lead. So Kenyatta moving on, apparently so, to become the nominee for State Auditor General. Now, on the Treasurer side, this one is a little surprising as we see these numbers early on. Ryan Bizzarro is a state rep from the Erie area and fairly well known in Democratic circles, real close with State Senator Marty Flynn from Lackawanna County. But Aaron McClellan, who has been a congressional candidate and an unsuccessful one from the Pittsburgh area,
right,
has entered this race to become the Democratic nominee for Treasurer. And she's doing quite well here in the early going with nearly 50% of the vote in, and she is up by 60-some thousand odd votes.
I will tell you, she's very well known and loved in the Pittsburgh, Allegheny County area. She was a mental health and substance abuse counselor there. Like you said, she ran for Congress twice, I think 2014 and 2016, and was not successful then, but she is known very well and loved in that area. And then Ryan Bizzarro, very interesting that you mentioned him because he is running for treasurer, obviously against McClellan, but also he's running for re-election for his state house seat. So it's like, well, let me see, what will I do? Maybe I'll get it for this for treasurer, or if not, maybe I can just keep my seat. That's interesting to me. That's even allowable. It is, but it
has been done, but it almost seems whenever a candidate does this, when they hedge their bets like this, it seems like they know they're not going to win the race, the bigger of the two. It always seems
hedging
that way.
their bet.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're not all in, you kind of have a toe in the water. That doesn't go off well. People can tell. House seats are difficult. You're such a proponent for your own district to the detriment of other districts that sometimes doesn't play that well either, right? If you're going to be in a race, be in the race. Give up the seat and run for the race. If you're not giving up the seat, then that tells you you're probably thinking either you're not going to win the primary or you won't win the general election.
Right.
But being half in, that doesn't work very well too often.
I think you have to have some level of vulnerability, right? Like, I'm getting into it. Even if I don't win, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to be all in for this.
Well, you think of Jamie Walsh, right?
Yes.
In his race.
Yes.
Nervous tonight. Just this genuine nature of it, right? We'll see how I do. First time in it.
Right.
May not win. Super nervous. Just that authenticity. And sometimes it does matter. It does matter. And maybe we don't have that with Ryan here tonight.
We shall see.
Lloyd Benson, 88, ran for vice president as well as re-election to the U.S. Senate. Again, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I remember 88 so well, right?
Yes.
I'm sure it's a great year.
Wasn't there somebody on a tank? Wasn't there a candidate in a tank? Was it Dukakis?
That did not go so well
That didn't go very well, right?
That was a bad move. All right, we can run down some numbers here.
Do we have more numbers
We
coming
do
in?
numbers, and the interesting one, I think, the 84% in the 120th district on the Democratic side. Fern Leard is really just running away with this race over John Morgan, which is surprising to me a little bit. I thought Morgan would fare a little bit better, especially with that base of support you would think he would have in the borough of Exeter.
Yes.
But this has been Leard, and maybe the previous campaign where she ran 2 years ago, has left a lasting impact with the voters in the 120th, because the Democrats are going to send her back to the general election, it would appear, with 84% and Morgan needing more than 800 votes to close the gap here. Not looking real good for him at this point.
And they seem to have spent both campaigns a good bit of money in this race. We saw both them on television as well as many signs out in the 120th district. So this will definitely be one to watch. But as you said, it seems that Fern Leard running away with this one with 84% of the votes already in.
And this is a district the Democrats will think they can perhaps pick off in the fall as well. Again, Phyllis Mundy held it for a long time before she retired, and then Aaron Coffer flipped it to the Republicans, and he held it for 10 years, and now he's retired. The Democrats got to be thinking this is one they might be able to get back.
Lisa made a comment about this race earlier tonight when she talked about the purpose behind Leard's running. And it was an insurance company claim her twin kids had. It didn't go well in a rare disease that they both face, right? And that drove her to get into politics. And it was really her purpose. And one of the things that we talked a little bit about is the power of purpose in politics and how that can drive success. And maybe we're seeing just a little bit of that tonight with Fern Leard, that power of purpose is so strong in a mom with kids battling a rare disease, not being able to get what they need to survive, by the way, right? And we're seeing it play out tonight. We're seeing the authentic nature of that. We're seeing somebody with the power of purpose in politics. That comes off very genuine, and that comes off is super driven. Right, and we may be seeing a little bit of that tonight.
And it's relatable, right? If you aren't really into politics and you don't follow it, you aren't a political analyst like one Corey O'Brien, but you see someone who says, hey, I'm a mom, I had this issue with my kids, I care about my family and all families. I'm willing to take one and go to Harrisburg to serve.
Nothing stronger than a mother's love and care for a child. Nothing stronger.
That'll be a good story to tell on the campaign trail.
Yes.
Looks like Leard is going to be your Democratic nominee in the 120th, and it looks like she will face off against Brenda Pew on the Republican side, the chairwoman on the of the Luzerne County Fair, and it appears that Brenda Pew is about to declare victory. Newswatch 16's Jack Culkin is with the Pew campaign at Valenti's in Exeter. Jack, what can you tell us?
Don't know if Jack can hear us, but I do believe that is Brenda Pugh waiting to take the stand there.
We see State Senator Lisa Baker in the background there. Yep. And I don't want to jump ahead to Lisa Baker, but I feel that she might be the next one.
Looks
to
like
maybe
they're taking some pictures and getting ready. Hopefully Jack can hear us. And
Lisa Baker's seat is up in 2 years. Corey, what do you think? She's going to run for re-election?
Well, I think she's a force.
Yes, absolutely. She's unbeatable if she does run, no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people hope she does.
Yeah, well, except the people who are gearing up to run for that seat, because there's some jockeying going on already. See Aaron Coffer in this place as well here with the Pew campaign. So obviously. Brenda Pew getting some pretty high-profile Republican support in this race tonight, and that might be one of the reasons that she seems to have such an overwhelming victory on the GOP side in the 120th district right there. You see the numbers. She's up by nearly 1,000 votes, and it appeared that she's all but ready to make an acceptance speech for the nominations. We're just waiting on that. She's at Valenti's in Exeter, and it's a delightful little spot right along Wyoming Avenue.
I think this goes back to what Corey was saying, though. When you are the chairwoman of the Luzerne County Fair, right? Even though things happen, I believe it was rained out this past year, the flood, maybe some issues there, but it's still the fair. So don't
underestimate the contacts and connections she's made through the fair as well. I mean, you have a Lisa Baker, you have these individuals who would be working and coordinating with you in your office and your team with respect to the county fair.
Yes.
So she will have created a significant amount of goodwill, not only among voters, but among the political, establishment. The individuals who, quite frankly, probably in both parties. Quite frankly,
right?
I mean, she probably has a
you got to reach out to coffer because you got to get
That's
some.
exactly right. So,
okay.
so you're going to have a significant well of support just built in there from the county fair.
While we're waiting to get to Jack, maybe we can get Nikki Kries, if we can maybe work on that, and she can talk to us, as it appears that Fern Leard is going to get that Democratic nomination yet. So hopefully we'll check in with Nikki momentarily.
Nikki, she's been also with the Morgan campaign in Exeter, so she might be hightailing out to, Fern's at the Rodano's in Wilkes-Barre, which is not in the district itself, but it's a well-known spot in the Wyoming Valley. So that's where Fern Leard is tonight. So Nikki might be heading across the river and heading to Wilkes-Barre to see if she can decide on that. We have a winner declared here, and it is Robert Ledbetter, the incumbent in the 109th district. He's a freshman Republican, and he had to face a challenge as well from Matthew Yoder, but Ledbetter easily beating back that challenge tonight, and it would appear that he is off to November. Ledbetter in the 109th will face Bloomsburg Town Council member Nicholas McGraw. He's the Democratic nominee. He was unopposed tonight. So Ledbetter versus McGraw, and as Ledbetter looks to win his second term in the State House. He's from Catawissa, and he ran in a contested primary last time when David Millard retired from that seat. He held it for a long time. Back to Jack Culkin and the acceptance speech here for Brenda Pew in Exeter tonight.
Well, that was overwhelming. Thank you. But not for me, for Brenda. The numbers are in. We're happy to say the numbers are in. Brenda has won every polling location in the district. And she's won it by a lot. Only Brenda Pew could bring together a group like this to work so hard to get this done. So it is my privilege to introduce to you the Republican nominee for the 120th district and your next state representative after we get this done in November, Brenda Pew.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yes, it's overwhelming. And the numbers are in, and we did win every polling place. And I like to think that I have something to do with that, but everybody in this room had something to do with that. So I'm going to give you all a round of applause. Thank you. Because without you, that would not have happened. The time and effort all of you put into this campaign is overwhelming. And the support that each and every one of you have given me is humbling. And the voters and the doors that we've knocked on and the support that we've received is amazing. So I am truly looking forward to the next several months and the works that we have to get done. I hope you guys will all join me in doing that, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the residents that we are going to meet, because we have a lot more doors to knock, a lot more miles to put on. Alan, I need new sneakers. I have a couple of people I want to thank. I want to thank my husband, Alan, for always having my back. I want to thank these amazing people standing up here behind me for always being there when I need to vent, when I need to ask questions to. Karen Bowe back over here, who always gives me that little extra encouragement that I need. Thank you. And again, to all of you, thank you, because this would not be possible without you. I can't do this without you, so let's get it done in November, guys. Thank you.
Brenda Pew, the Republican nominee for State House of Representatives in the 120th District in Luzerne County. That's the seat that Aaron Coffer, the gentleman just hugging her, he is leaving. He's retiring after 5 terms. So Brenda Pew, with an overwhelming victory on the GOP side, looks like she's going to be facing Fern Leard from the Back Mountain, a healthcare worker who ran previously for this seat 2 years ago and lost to Coffer. Looks like Leard's going to get another bite at the apple this time against Brenda Pew for the open seat in the 120th.
She said they need new sneakers because they got a lot to do to get to November. That's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. You know, this has been kind of that toss-up kind of district here, right. But that area is pretty firmly Republican. Even though the district is kind of a toss-up, it's been going in the Republican direction for quite a while here, at least over the last 10 years. It was
talking about
firmly
Kingston.
Democrat for quite a while, and then it turned Republican.
Right.
And it really is, if you look at Luzerne County as a whole, it really shows you what Luzerne County has done. Luzerne County has been a stronghold for Democrats, and Democrats have had the voting edge in Luzerne County for generations. But what we've seen over the last 10, 12 years is a movement toward voting for Republicans. If you're looking at statewide, you look at national elections in Luzerne County, they've been going Republican in that county. So it'll be interesting. This is one of those seats, you know, we talk about some of the other seats that we're looking at tonight, and it's another one of these plays. You know, we look at 120, we look at the 139th. You know, these races here are races that could defy conventional wisdom, could also show us the direction of the Commonwealth in the general election. Are they going to be moving toward Democrats, back home toward Democrats, or are they going to continue to see a move toward the Republican Party?
We're going to find that out in November. This is going to be a race to really watch, and 2 women going head-to-head. It would appear, again, we're kind of presuming that Fern Leard is going to win the nomination. She seems to have a very strong lead at this point. So
a lot of money going to be spent in that campaign, I'm sure.
Don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but it would appear that the 2 women are going to run for the 120th. And again, Phyllis Mundy held the seat for many years, so that's nothing unusual there.
Right.
Why don't we take a look at all the numbers we have right now? We can run right down from the top. Our first race is the special election, the 139th, and our numbers are still at 35% in this one. But Robin Skibber, as we've been saying all night, with the lead here at 35% in, and with a strong lead of more than 1,200 votes. But again, those are early numbers, and Lisa is of the opinion that these are mail-in ballots, and that's why the Democrat has the lead in what would normally be considered a Republican-leaning district. So
I think given the name recognition, as we've been saying, how important that is with Jeff Olsemer, it's still very early. I can't imagine that it's going to be, 67-33%.
Yeah,
that still seems pretty far. So I think
sense.
these are mail-in. Anything can happen, right? Any given election, any given Tuesday. So we shall see. But I think my guess is that's what's happening here.
Our race number 2 is the Democratic race for president of the United States, and this one was declared early. President Joe Biden overwhelmingly over his challenger, Dean Phillips, who dropped out of the race and endorsed President Biden. We should note that. On the Republican side, this is getting wider than it had been. Nikki Haley had been up in the 30% level for much of the early part of the evening. But now, as we're getting into about a third of the votes in, former President Trump is extending his lead. He's up now to 79-21. I would just guess that some of the numbers are coming in from the more rural Pennsylvania counties.
Right.
The real strong Trump support there. That would be my guess for why these numbers are extending. Still 21% for Nikki Haley with a third of the votes counted. That does not bode well for the former president of Pennsylvania.
Something we've not talked about, Corey, also, the former president is facing some legal troubles. 4 cases specifically. How much is that going to play into November? I mean, you're looking at 70,000 almost people at this point, with 33% reporting voting for Nikki Haley, who has suspended her campaign. Are these votes because I don't like Donald Trump, he has legal troubles, or?
Well, the question is, with respect to the legal troubles, I think the question is, who are we talking about? The Republicans, for the most part, I think are going to vote Republican. When you look at those numbers, it's only 33% of the vote is in.
Right.
So I think this margin is going to widen pretty significantly when we start getting some of the more rural counties in, because I would guess that these are mail-ins, number one. And then in addition to that, coming from more of the urban areas of our Commonwealth would be my guess. The bigger question with respect to the lawsuits will be, what does that do with respect to independents? Because the Democrats are going to vote Democrat.
Right.
The Republicans, for the most part, are going to vote Republican. Where do independents, and how do they see this? Do they see this as the Democratic Party trying to just rip Donald Trump off, or do they see it as true legal trouble and run away from Donald Trump? That's how the independent votes. Look at Donald Trump has to win independent voters. He has not done historically well among independents. Just hasn't gotten that done. How do you move independents? These court hearings, if they don't end up with convictions,
right,
that's going to spell some trouble for Democrats. You know, I mean, there's a lot on the line here with respect to these litigation matters. So it's going to be interesting to see how it is. But what do independents think? Remember, independents aren't strong supporters or supporters of either party. That's kind of why they're independents, right? They want to be able to kind of pick and choose on issues and pick and choose on things, but they're not big fans of the Dems. They're not big fans of the Republicans. Are the independents at the end of the day going to say, you know what, this is just dirty pool by the Democrats? Can Donald Trump do enough to make it so political that independents are just like, you know what, I don't want a Democrat or a Republican to be able to do that. I don't want the Democrats to go after Republicans like that, and I don't want Republicans to go after Democrats like that with the legal system. If independents think that way, Donald Trump's in a good position with independents. If they think, no, you know what, Donald Trump violated the law in X, Y, and Z and should pay the price for that, then they go to the Democrats. It kind of, you know, where is that? What I'm seeing out there is I'm not seeing a lot of support for the notion that these are legitimate cases. I'm not seeing a lot of that. I mean, scholars on certain cases are just saying, beyond the statute of limitation, this case was had by 8 different prosecutors, nobody prosecuted, now they're prosecuting, right? And they're going to make sure he comes to court for 6 weeks. Or, some of these things are a little heavy-handed. Independents don't like that. They don't like that being done to anyone. Forget who the person is. They don't want political parties to do it. It's an issue. Right? It's an issue. When we're thinking about issues, we're thinking about abortion, we're thinking about gun rights, we're thinking about all these important issues that people have votes about. They don't want the legal system used as a weapon against and weaponized against political parties. That's an issue. And there's a group of people who don't like that. Whether it was to Bill Clinton, when people did it against Bill Clinton, or whether it's to Donald Trump now. People didn't like it when it was done to Bill Clinton. And there are people who don't like it being done to Donald Trump. So where are those independents going to go? And independents in Pennsylvania are fiercely independent. If there's one thing you know about independents in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, they're fiercely independent. Right. Because we have Democrats who are fiercely Democrats, and we have Republicans who are fiercely Republicans. Well, we have independents who are fiercely there too.
And they have that vote is going to be crucial. That could be the make or break.
Everybody's vying for that vote. So Donald Trump, when he's in New York and he's talking every single day to the media, he's not talking to the judge. He hopes the judge throws him in prison. He hopes for that because he thinks that that's going to be a springboard for him.
Gotcha.
That's an interesting political strategy. We're going to take a break here, just about 25 minutes before 10. Again, stay with us right up to Newswatch 16 at 10 here on WNEP2. We'll be right back.
We need some help.
I know. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. And if approved, we can have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday. And I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her so I could call and thank them. And she's doing fine. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
When you fall and cannot get up, an accident can turn into a tragedy. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast. Life Alert saves a person from a catastrophe every 10 minutes.
Life Alert is a lifesaver. If it weren't for Life Alert, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-996-9845. Call now, 1-800-996-9845. For a free brochure, call 1-800-996-9845.
If you are 55 years of age or older and unemployed, the AARP Foundation can help get you back to work. Their Senior Community Service Employment Program can assist you through remote at-home training or on-site training while you get paid. Increase your skills for desired positions that employers are looking for right now and in the future. Flexible low-income and residency qualifications apply. Call or email the AARP Foundation to see if you qualify.
Gardening and home improvement tips, delicious recipes, local travel destinations, more home and backyard in more places, on the web with our app, and streaming on WNEP+.
We are back with Your Voice, Your Vote primary election 2024 in Pennsylvania. Thank you much for joining us here on WNEP2. Again, a lot to get for, and we have some winners that have been declared. You have some updated numbers for us.
Winners declared: President D, Biden; President R, Trump; Attorney General R, that would be Sunday. Sunday is your Republican nominee for Attorney General. Auditor General D, that would be Kenyatta, declared the winner. Pennsylvania House District 109, Ledbetter, the incumbent, winner. Pennsylvania House District 120 on the D side, Fern Leard is now officially declared the winner. Our Nikki Krise is at the Leard party at Rodano's. We hope to hear from her momentarily. As we mentioned, Pew is the Republican winner in Pennsylvania House District 120. And in the Republican primary of the Pennsylvania House District 139 in the Poconos, Olsemer has won that over Contreras. But again, that's just the primary for the full term of the seat. We are still waiting on the numbers in the special election, which have been stuck at 35% now for about the last hour.
So that could possibly be good for Olsemer, but
certainly
we don't know yet.
Olsemer will be alive in the fall. Olsemer will be in the fall ballot whether he wins the special election tonight or not. We mentioned Newswatch 16's Nikki Krise. She is with the Fern Leard campaign at Rodano's in Wilkes-Barre. Leard has been declared the winner on the Democratic side. Nikki.
Well, Scott, everybody is pretty excited here at Rodano's, and I think the Democratic Party of Luzerne County is here. There's a bunch of different candidates here. We have Fern. She was right over here. She's somewhere around here. She's very excited right now, congratulating. Her supporters are congratulating and thanking her. This is a familiar position for her. She was in this position 2 years ago when she made it to the general election. This is her second time making it to the general election. She actually lost to Representative Aaron Coffer 2 years ago. Now, Fern Leard has worked in advocacy for the past decade on Capitol Hill, working to get a health care bill passed. She became active in politics after an insurance company denied treatment for her infant sons needed to battle their rare condition. And again, we hope to hear from her very soon. Again, she just kind of, she's mingling with her supporters right now. Everybody's congratulating her. It's pretty hectic here at Rodano's. So we will have much more from this campaign in just a few minutes.
All right, Nikki, thank you so much for that. Of course, you can hear that buzz of excitement when your candidate has won. Things are great. When they haven't won, not so much.
This is really a blowout. It's really interesting.
Surprising to me. I did not see this coming.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about the power purpose and how that probably played a role here. But I'll give her one piece of advice for the general election. She doesn't need my advice because she just did very well, but I'll give her one piece. When you have your party, have it in the district. Right? I mean, start doing the things you need to do, right? I mean, you're not creating any goodwill by having your party at Rodano's. You're just not, right? Do it in the district. So, she's still new to politics. I think she's going to learn that, I would assume. We'll see in the fall, but I would assume she'll be in the district for the fall. But this is a big night for her, especially somebody who's new, even though she has run before, to have that first taste of victory and see your hard work come to fruition here. She knows she's got a long way to go, right? She's been in this kind of position before, and she's going to be battling somebody with a lot of support. I mean, we saw Pew in that speech, and we saw who's standing with her.
Right.
And who's in that room. She has a lot of political support from people who matter. I mean, Senator Lisa Baker, I mean, this is somebody who you're going to find throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is held in high regard.
Yeah, people who can make a difference in a local campaign. We're standing behind Brenda Pew tonight.
Keep you connected.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's going to be hard to overcome. So Fern's going to have a tough time, but she's the right candidate if you want to have an opportunity to win this seat.
Yeah, you have the 120th and the way it's laid out, and I know you never ran for state representative, but how much different does your general election campaign look than your primary election campaign? Do these candidates go to different neighborhoods now? That they hadn't been in the primary?
Oh, absolutely. You have different lists, right? So you're knocking on doors and you're pulling voter registration lists, and they're completely different, right? I mean, your primary voting list is the hardcore Democrats who you've seen have voted in the last 3 or 4 elections, really guaranteed voters. That's whose doors you're hitting in the primary. That whole calculation changes in the general election. Now what you're doing is you're looking for core Democrats and Republicans, more general election voters, and you're gonna hit those doors. So it's a completely different campaign now. She is going to have to focus on ensuring that she can pull people together from the other side. Maybe she can if there's a little bit of the national stuff going on and Biden's winning or doing well in Pennsylvania. Maybe there is some underlying disenfranchised Republicans that she can, pull over. Right. That's a possibility. Those that aren't dying the will. If you voted for Nikki Haley tonight, those are voters I'd probably want to try to target.
I believe in the power of women. Also, you got to reach independents, because they are also able to vote in November.
Yes. I'm not in the 120th, so you don't have to waste your time with
don't
me.
Don't knock on his door. All right, we're going to check in with Newswatch 16's Melissa Steininger, covering the 117th for us. Melissa, I believe you have an update?
Hi, yeah, Lisa, I do. So things are pretty much neck and neck here, although spirits are rising, people remaining confident here at the Morgan Hill Golf Course. And Jamie Walsh has said that he is also excited and confident for tonight. Politics wasn't exactly his background. He just chose to start running back in November after he said he wasn't getting answers he was happy with after creating a parental rights group during the COVID 2020 era. And for him, this is all about, making sure that parents have rights and a say, as well as his students and his kids. Things are rising. He's continuing to update the people here, his supporters that are here to celebrate alongside of him. And again, this is neck and neck. The 117th, while a lot of races are looking forward to November, tonight is the big night. Not a lot of no Democratic challengers. So this is the big race for both the incumbent Representative Mike Cabell as well as Jamie Walsh. So again, you can hear some of the cheering happening as they are getting those numbers in tonight. Just an exciting night for this first timer taking his hand up politics, and he is really excited to see how the night plays out, and hopefully he is hoping for a win here tonight coming out of Morgan Hill Golf Course.
Melissa Steininger in Luzerne County, thanks very much. Again, that race is going to be a nail-biter right down to the entire evening. Yes. Yeah. We do have a winner declared in the 7th Congressional District on the Republican side to take on incumbent Democratic Congresswoman Susan Wild. The district centered around the Lehigh Valley. It also includes the entire section of Carbon County, all of Carbon County, and a couple of townships in Monroe County. So on the Republican side, it's going to be State Representative Ryan McKenzie. He has been declared the winner. He started to break away about midway through the evening over his 2 other Republican challengers, Deliker and Montero. So McKenzie, who is a state representative in Lehigh County, he is going to be your Republican nominee for Congress. That's going to be a heck of a race. Susan Wild shooting for her 4th term, but none of her victories have been easy. They have all been a struggle. That is a swing district in the Lehigh Valley, the 7th Congressional District, and it will certainly appear to be so again this time around. So McKenzie versus Wild. What is Ryan McKenzie, the young man with a very bright smile, what does he have to do?
This is one you said that the strategists may be looking at to say, can we put some money here and really pump this race and maybe get this seat?
There's no doubt about it. When you look at the national political reports that come out and what are the toss-up districts, what are the races to watch, the 7th, will be a race to watch. The Republicans will be targeting this district for a pickup. Remember, the Democrats hold a 9-seat majority in the United States House, right? There's 435 members. They have a 9-seat majority there, and the Republicans need to pick up seats. This is absolutely going to be one of those that they think they have a legitimate shot at. This is a district in an area that is really kind of on the fence in terms of what direction it could go in, Republican, Democrat. This is one of those where a coattail effect will probably matter. The Democratic presidential winner will probably impact this race.
Northampton County is a real swing county as well in the state.
Right. So this is going to be one to watch for sure. This is going to be one of those bellwethers that I think national political organizations will follow. National media will be following this to see kind of where this goes, to get an early sense as to where the election is going to go in Pennsylvania and maybe beyond, because we are kind of in the middle.
Right.
Right. And the way we go will be the way Wisconsin goes, a Michigan and Ohio, maybe a Florida, maybe not. Maybe they're moving a little bit outside of that purple.
Right.
But these states that are these swing states that really end up deciding presidential elections, this district, they're going to watch this one closely.
And we know that we are going to see President Biden, Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, I'm sure several times before November.
Several
times. Yeah, it's a critical state, no doubt about it. We have just about a little less than 10 minutes left in our election special before we get into WNEP's Newswatch 1610 here on WNEP2. Some of the seats that we don't have winners in, Pennsylvania Attorney General on the Democratic side, that's going to be DePasquale. He is up huge. He's been up huge all night. The former Auditor General. That race right now has more than 50% in. Yeah, and DePasquale has not even been challenged at all. That's one of the races that's undetermined. On the Democratic primary for state treasurer, also undetermined, but it looks like Aaron McClelland is really going to pull away with that one over Ryan Bizzarro. A little bit of a surprise there. Aaron McClelland could be your Democratic nominee for treasurer against Stacey Garrity come the fall. We don't have a winner yet in the Republican primary in the 110th up in the northern tier. Tina Pickett, though, with a huge lead over the challenger, Matthew Wayman. Pickett is the longtime incumbent. Bit of a surprise to see anyone even take her on in a Republican primary, but Matthew Wayman did. It looks like he's going to come up short, but no winner has officially been declared yet in that one. Then the 117th, Melissa just told us about that one, is close. Don't know if we're going to know a winner anytime soon. And the 139th special election, we now up to 57% of the vote is in the 139th, and it is still Robin Skibber with the lead.
It's getting closer, though.
Yeah, 300 votes, so definitely getting closer. And maybe this is a reflection of the in-person voting, maybe starting to come in, which you would figure would favor Alsamer. But even more than 50% to have her leading by a couple hundred votes, I'm surprised by that just in and of itself. In that district, the 139th in the Poconos.
I think this is going to turn. It's been trending to turning all night. I think Alsamer still, believe it or not, even though he's down, still in the driver's seat in this race with 57% of the vote reporting. The rest of that vote, I think, will be fairly heavy for Republicans, and he may end up at the end of the day winning this. But more importantly is, I think, Scott, what you said, the margin here of victory, even if he were to successfully pull this out, his margin of victory would not be great. I mean, right now, 53-47, still a wide margin, but not a ton of votes here separating them. Alsamer probably picks this up. I wouldn't be surprised if he won at the end of the night. But the fact that this is this close, this is going to give Democrats a lot of hope for the fall.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
A lot of hope or a lot of angst if they actually win it and then have to defend it.
That's right. That's right. One way or another.
Yes. There's one other race we have not talked about at all tonight. That is in the city of Shamokin, where voters were talking about a home rule question, and it appears that yes has beaten no, which I guess is a good thing, unless you're a 2-year-old child. But the question asks voters if a government study commission of 7 members should be elected to study the existing form of government of the municipality and consider the advisability of home rule charter in the city of Shamokin.
And this is for the study, so still very early on, but yeah, so the
beautiful shot there of the city.
You know, it's pretty interesting with respect to that question because it's a very complicated question.
It is.
And the folks who were articulating this did a very, very good job because the inertia, right, and the status quo is typically on questions just to vote no.
Right.
You know, it's like if somebody's asking me to do something,
no.
I'm not going to do anything, right? I'm going to vote no. Then the status quo is preserved. We're good to go. My garbage is being picked up tomorrow. But in this type of situation, if you're seeing a yes vote, that means people actually went out and understood the message. They understood what was at stake here. This question will end up how, you know, this municipality is funded moving forward.
Right.
Where the tax dollars are, who's responsible and who's in charge of those tax dollars. Is it the state or is it the people? So this is very interesting. I would applaud those who were pushing the initiative because you really have to educate your voters.
Fewer than 100 votes separated that, so there are people with strong opinions on both sides of that one.
We're up to 24% in that 117th district race on the Republican side. Cabell leads Walsh right now by 9 votes.
You know, and let's talk about this for a second. What does conventional wisdom tell us? Cabell wins. That's what conventional wisdom would say every single time out. Jamie Walsh loses. That's conventional wisdom. Incumbent wins. Power of incumbency matters. If you're going to beat an incumbent, when are you going to do it? That first.
Early on. That's what you said, yes.
Not once they become entrenched and have all of the aspects of incumbency. I've felt from the beginning, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I could be eating my words in 35 minutes. But I have felt from the beginning that this race sets up well for Jamie Walsh. It just sets up well for him. Novice, newcomer, genuine. He's nervous the day of the race, and he's telling the press that. I would have never said I was nervous to Stacey Lang when she was covering me. I'd say, I'm positive we're going to win, we're going to do all this stuff, and she's asking me all these tough questions, right? But I would stay positive with respect to vulnerability that Jamie Walsh has shown throughout this race. That's a genuineness, and you can't replace it in politics. And there's something to be said for that.
And you make a point when you say when you're the incumbent and this just is your first term, the voters may not know you as well. Your district may not be as familiar with you and what you've done for them. So this is an opportunity. This is an open door.
It's so much easier to run as an outsider, right? When you're the incumbent, you now take on the government as if you represent the government at large, even though you don't. That's how most people who are incumbents end up having to kind of take on that role. Being the outsider, being the newcomer, that's always a good position to be in. That's the position most candidates want to be in. They want to be fighting the system. They want to be bringing change and reform and new ideas, right? Jamie Walsh can play that role. Cabell has a little bit harder time doing that. 9 votes.
We'll be watching that one for sure.
And our coverage obviously is coming to an end here for this special, but it's really just beginning as we get into Newswatch 16 at 10 and then Newswatch 16 at 11 over on WNEP. Couple minutes left. Any final thoughts before we send it over to the news? Corey.
Well, I'm just excited to see how many candidates are in these races. You know, we've been talking about this all night, the multiple candidates per race. It's great to see people wanting to get back engaged. We remember the years where you couldn't find somebody to run. You know, I mean, people just wanted to get away from politics. And I hope that this is really a new beginning where people see politics as a noble and worthy profession and they're willing to get into the arena to make a difference in their communities. I think we're seeing that tonight. I think everybody who's on the ballot, listen, we have winners, we have losers. I'm a firm believer in that. There's no trophies for second place. But for those people who participate in the process tonight, congratulations to them.
I'm glad to see the turnout. We don't know the exact numbers yet, but that people were actually going to the polls, exercising their civic duty, because we know how the turnout can sometimes be in some of these races that aren't the general election in November. So I'm very happy to see that. Learned something from you tonight. It's easier to beat the incumbent early on, so I'll remember that. But I think very good that we do have so many contested races, as Corey said tonight, and the fact that some of them are so close. I love that.
And I wonder if this primary election is not going to go down as the return of Eugene D. Pasquale He's going to be the Democratic nominee for Attorney General. He is going to be in a strong position to perhaps win that seat, get back into a statewide office, and be in a perfect position to again chase his dreams of, we presume his dream is the governor's mansion. And just when you thought he was done and he was out of politics, he just comes storming back. We didn't see this kind of a victory coming for him tonight, but it is here, and Dee Pasquale is going to be a force come November. We have much more to come here on Newswatch 16 at 10, which is coming up right after the break. Don't go away. Stay with us on The Deuce.
Sometimes it's hard to see past the looming repair and replacement costs all around your house. Finally, you can stop seeing money and start saving money with First American Home Warranty. First American covers the systems and appliances you depend on every day. Air conditioning, refrigerator, washer and dryer, electrical, plumbing, and more.
If there's one guarantee in home ownership, it's that things are going to break down.
When an appliance or system breaks down, First American sends a trusted contractor to fix it.
And if they can't fix it, they will replace it.
Members pay low monthly rates with unlimited claims and 24/7 customer service.
We've saved thousands of dollars that we've been able to reinvest into our home.
All plans include a no questions asked money back guarantee and flexible payment options so you can never pay for covered repairs again. Call 1-800-508-6823 now or go online to get your free no obligation quote. So call now.
NetCredit is here to say yes, even when other lenders won't. Apply online in minutes and get funds deposited the next business day or sooner. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
April is National Donate Life Month. You can help transform lives by registering to become an organ donor. If you are waiting for a transplant, the Cody Barace Memorial Foundation can help through their Organ Transplant Assistance Program.
I'm sitting here as a medical miracle with my best friend.
Like even with the Barace Foundation now, we are able to say, hey, we are behind you. We think what you're doing is just such an amazing thing.
For more information, visit the Cody Barace Memorial Foundation online.
This year's Great Chefs promises to take you on a culinary adventure like no other. Prepare to be dazzled with this year's theme, Prosecco and Pearls, where you'll indulge in delectable appetizers surrounded by elegance, all in support of the Women's Resource Center.
Your voice, your vote. Newswatch 16's live election.